What's the new economic thinking you would like to sponsor as a dissertation going forward?
So I think first, somebody entering economics now has to be like a kid in a candy shop. There's so much that has so much thinking has been controverted to some extent by what happened in this crisis. And of course, there are old areas which have become more important: sovereign debt, bank runs, stuff like that. So I think even following conventional lines, there's so much to do. But I also think, and this goes back to your point about development economics and industrial economics, so to speak. I think one of the mistakes we made was we sort of thought we create the institutions, we've arrived. And the institutions don't need to be maintained. They're there. And so once, think of the institutions as plumbing. Once the plumbing works, we don't need to worry about it. Let's now, look at the surface. And so macroeconomics took the plumbing for granted. But of course, the plumbing backed up, even in an industrial country. And so now there's thinking about how we integrate the plumbing with the outside, because in almost in a very interesting way, what is called the Lucas critique applies to the plumbing and to the surface. That is, the moment you take the surface for granted and don't stop worrying about the plumbing, that's when the plumbing starts backing up. Because nobody's watching it.
It's the micro incentives of the infrastructure.
Exactly.
And the dynamics for its evolution.
Right. When you don't care about the micro incentives and you work only on the macro, then you cause the conditions that create the plumbing to back up.
The blind spots emerge
Exactly.
the atrophy.
Exactly. And Lucas's critique, for those who don't know, was basically once you take the broad relationships as gospel truth, without understanding the micro foundations of those broad relationships, well, essentially the relationships will start breaking down. And I think you can apply that to the institutional structure also. So I think thinking about how these things relate is extremely important. I mean, in a sense, I may be a heretic here, but I think a lot of what went on we studied in different parts of the economics profession. Behavioral economics studied, irrational behavior of one kind or the other.
Expectational volatility
Right.
and that kind of thing.
Banking studied bank runs and why they emerged and so on. Liquidity, how that fed into banks. Macro studied macroeconomics. So everybody studied their piece. The six wise men feeling their part of the elephant. But we didn't integrate together. And I think even for a young economist who doesn't want to take the chance of writing broad books and being turfed out of the profession for not being focused enough, there's so much to do in integrating some of these areas together.
And in defining what is an important research agenda.
Exactly.
That integrative awareness
Right.
helps you pick what node do I want to specialize in.
Exactly. And I think then we will see, I mean, we're already seeing it in the theses that are coming out, a flourishing of people saying, okay, let me put this and this together and let me see what happens. Do I get the same results? When I put a financial sector into the macroeconomic model, the standard macroeconomic model. But this time, we're not reinventing the wheel. We have a whole new set of tools.
Analytical
tools which can help us. So
Walter Bagehot was a great narrative, but now the more systematic and measurable dimensions.
Well, and of course, I think the point one has to make is those tools are as good as what you put in. And of course, if you've got the wrong framework or the wrong things that you think matter, it doesn't matter what tools you have, you still get the wrong answer. And I think a growing awareness of the need to understand what's going on in the real world, I think is part of that. Now, I mean, economists always, I don't want to picture economists as being in an ivory tower. They always have connection, especially empirical economists, connection with the real world. The point, however, is we've been focused on our particular turf without looking too much at what's happening elsewhere.
That's great. Dr. Rajan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.